field trip to Chevak in October 1955. I left Bethel flying with Jimmix Samuelson in his Cessna 170 on floats at about 10 a.m. period. We took a almost due west course over the village Kasiglik and Ninapachuk, where he was born in Nunachuk. We also passed over Chile and at Chevak, period. Out of villages, period. Bags were taken up to the schoolhouse. After lunch, we saw clinic facilities in the patients. CLIR acted as interpreter. The clinics continued the remainder of 11 at night and period. For the pulling of teeth, period. There were with rotted off, period. That is good to remove correction all the teeth from a small child. Serve a purpose in I suggested only the pain have extractions. However, there with carious teeth to bed. These proved rather difficult. Of them broke, and roots were extra difficulty with the grid. In one or two cases, the root left. As we were working, the people told me that Mike, Nayheak, as the village dentist, he was off, period. So I invited him to come and watch. I did it. When my arm became tired, I handed him and he pulled. So when they Chevak without the benefit of anesthesia, they use a piece of wood 2 inches, which is inserted in the mouth, side opposite extracted, period. This allows the patient to bite down on unduly interfering with period. I'm sure this must be some relief to the they are experiencing the pain involved in an extracted of anesthesia, period. Toward the end down, and it finally appeared that we were seeing daylight, period. Interpreters wrote down names and ages of the patient, a great deal of help. Another young lady by the name of Teresa B. also period. She was helpful in leading me out to the where old people too elusive to come in for examination. Here we've discovered several active tuberculosis in this manner. As usual, the people here displayed a good sense of several of the young adults with birth dates and chief complaints on a piece of paper which the patient brought to me, and he came in for examination. Young men brought in such a slip of paper, saw them gather around, sat down, looked at the paper, the chief and new pack. Night, a dance was held in this hall was brought over by the local people under direction and guidance of Father Wood Manzoff. There was something to see how he had taught even the very young ones were up and this tremendous period. The older children and young adults danced the square dances and schottisches and polkas with considerable enthusiasm. There was one little boy whom I could not stop watching, period. He must have been about 7 years of age. period. He came to the dance barefoot, although there was at least a half-inch or inch of frozen ground on the surface, period. There was also a hole in the seat of his pants, however, he danced with a vigor that was truly an inspiration to see. And as he went home barefooted over the frozen ground, probably to sleep in a tent, he was no doubt one of the happiest boys in the land. After the dance, Father Woods invited me over for a glass of wine, period. This was wine made by the Jesuits themselves in California and was the most superb drink of this type I have ever tasted, period. New paragraph. The general impression I got from Chevak was that the people there are quite vigorous and active, period. They seem to have a zest and a pride in their village that is lacking in some places, period. Part of this, I believe, is due to the fact that they have not been encouraged or coerced into leaving all of their old ways of a sudden, period. Although it is true that Chevak only came up out of the ground about 5 years ago, that is, began living in houses rather than underground igloos, they seem to have made considerable material progress, period. However, they are still a very poor village, period. Many of the heads of the families, either mother or father, are out at sanatoriums being treated for TBC at this time, which leaves an added burden on those who are home, period. However, this condition should improve in a couple years, period. New paragraph. As evidences of the fact that they have not, that they are not losing all of their old cultural elements, they have just finished a new Kashigak, Kasigak, at the upper end of town, period. They also do their native dances regularly, period. New paragraph. Some of the medical impressions that I gained were, 1, the fewness of the corneal scars, 2, the abundance of ventral hernias in the men, 3, the absence of enlarged tonsils in the children, 4, the little or no evidence of TBC of the bone or other orthopedic conditions, 5, the few eye complaints, 6, a few GYN complaints, and 7, and less than expected number of draining ears, period. New paragraph. In spite of the fact that the village is poor and that the people have considerable disease, the overall impression was one of some optimism, period. I think a lot of credit is due to Father Woods and the ANS school for the work they're doing there. It appeared to me that the greatest need at present is for more adequate housing and fuel to heat the houses, period. Houses are still being built of the most miserable material there, period. For wood, there's only old rotten scraps for the most part. These are tacked together in a small framework with a window in the roof and the whole structure covered over with sod, period. This is not the most difficult house to heat. However, it does not provide the last word in sanitation, period. New paragraph. On Sunday afternoon, correction. On Sunday, the weather continued to be intermittently good and bad, period. There was a question of whether or not Jimmix would be able to come out to pick me up, period. It was also getting near freeze-up, and was time that I be getting out of there if I were not to spend a month or more in Chevak, period. About 2 or 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, Jimmix came in, bringing my wife Mary along, period. Since the weather was uncertain, we made no delay in loading the plane and taking off, period. About 5 minutes out of Chevak, the motor in the plane began sputtering and missing, period. I saw Jimmix looking down at 2 small lakes immediately ahead of us, period. He thickened the gas mixture and turned on the heat. However, the engine continued to sputter and miss, period. By coaxing it along, we reached a stream in which he landed, and the engine promptly died, period. After draining out a few cups of water that had collected in each of the tanks due to the sudden change in temperature in the previous few days, we managed to get off again and return to Bethel without further mishap.